Commissioner Webb, are you there? Doesn't look like it.
Yes, so just having some technical difficulties.
Oh, that's
So,
okay. Take your time.
Yep. The thought that I wanted to give tonight is just about how precious life is and our community and the fire that we had here recently. I think, we all noticed the hillside burn. It was kind of impossible to miss if you were either in town or watching the news. And it was a pretty significant event. And it's amazing that we live in a community that, the firefighters and are thanking the community for bringing treats and the way things were organized and just the efficient way that people in our community work together, especially those employed by the city to, coordinate with all the people they needed to coordinate with and make sure the fire didn't end up burning down homes. And so I just grateful for that. And also just kind of a reminder of, how precious our safety is and life is, and just grateful to live in a wonderful community of North Ogden.
Thank you. Amen. Commissioner Gardner, are you online? I'll go ahead and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. If please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, we've got Commissioner Webb and Commissioner Gardner online, and Commissioner Watson and Commissioner Bailey are excused tonight, I believe. But let's go ahead and do consideration and action to approve the July 16th, 2025 and August 6th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Did anybody have any comments or issues or changes to that?
No, I don't think so. Not formally. It's interesting, the more detailed they are, sometimes it's also harder to capture exactly what comments were, what thought processes were, but I don't think there's anything that needs cleared up. Before, when they were less detailed, it was somewhat easier in some ways.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a side note. So having reviewed those, I guess I feel comfortable moving that we approve the July 16th and August 6th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes.
And I'll second that.
Okay, let's go ahead and just all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gardner. So that's approved unanimously. Any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest to disclose?
No.
Okay. All right, because we are doing some public hearings tonight, I am going to go ahead and read the public comment script. We don't have anybody in the room with us tonight, but I know there are some people online.
Yep.
So time is made available for anyone in the audience to address the commission concerning matters pertaining to city business. Citizens will be asked to limit their remarks or questions to 5 minutes each. Any materials that are displayed or referenced, such as pictures or written materials, are part of the record and must be left with the commission. Speakers are required to have signed in at the door and will state if they're online, state their name and the city they reside in before beginning their remarks. If you agree with the previous speaker, state your agreement and avoid repetitious remarks. Speakers shall address the commission from the podium or microphone and shall address all comments to the Planning Commission. Thank you. So let's go ahead and start the items. So the first item, I'd like to open a public hearing on, and this will be a public hearing on consideration and recommendation on a legislative application to add a chapter titled Water Use and Preservation Element of the General Plan to the North Ogden City Code. This plan is required by the state code and focuses on the entire city to ensure culinary and secondary water are accurately planned for in the future. And the presenter tonight is Scott Hess, the Community and Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Chair. So we brought this forward to the Planning Commission as a discussion item once, and the process that we'd like to do tonight is open the public hearing, have any opportunity for the public to front load those comments before the plan is done. And staff's recommendation for this item, since it isn't complete, is going to be to postpone to a future date and not a non-determined date. So it may or may not, I mean, it will come back every couple of weeks for you as we go through the process, but we want to formally open the general plan process. This particular plan is required by the state of Utah, as mentioned, State Code 109A403 requires elements for general plans, and all cities must adopt a water use and preservation element by December 31st, 2025. So we're coming up on the date that we want to get this done. We have a draft of the plan, but generally we need to go through and look at methods for reducing water demand, for future development, for existing developments, and planning for water, both culinary, secondary, and stormwater. Stormwater is a little less of a requirement, but culinary and secondary water resources. As part of the staff report, we went through the general plan amendment criteria pieces and provided information on those for you. And I thought that the interesting part as I went through this is the number of elements in the current general plan that speak to water-wise landscaping or water planning generally. So we'll have a lot of information to lean on from our current planning processes and our current general plan that were kind of a surprise in some ways as you go through and you look at how closely it relates to it, especially since that was a 2015 adopted document. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. We've discussed it. I really wanted to provide an opportunity for the public to speak, and then we can give Planning Commission an opportunity to provide additional comments. Down on my PDF, it's page 8 of 13 is the water use and preservation element. It begins, and we captured a few of the comments from Planning Commission when we had a discussion on this from Commissioners Green, Bailey, and Webb on initial comments, but happy to take any comments that you have today. We'll roll those forward. And the next formal step in the process is the city meeting with the secondary water providers, because our culinary water systems have been well planned for through the capital facilities projects. And the secondary water systems are not owned or operated or maintained by North Ogden. So we'll be in complete coordination with Mountain View Irrigation and Pine View Water Systems for our secondary water systems. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or entertain any comments from the public.
You guys have any questions before we ask the public for any comments?
I don't think distinct questions. Do you want to do?
Okay. Yeah, if we have any comments or questions from the public at this time on this particular water use and prevention element of the general plan, we would take those at this time. Okay, I guess we don't have any right now. Let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Need a motion
I
from
make a
you.
motion that we close the public hearing on this water use and preservation element of the general plan.
And
I'll second that. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Oh, go
That's
ahead,
okay.
go ahead.
Oh,
So
no.
just
All
for the
you.
record, it was Commissioner Green with the motion and Commissioner Webb with the second. Okay, so I think at this time, it sounds like we're not quite ready to make any recommendations to the city council because some additional work needs to be done on this before that time. I would recommend that the staff continue to work on it and that it be discussed at a future meeting.
Okay.
Mhm.
I do, so, and we can have that recommendation floating. I do want to cover just a couple quick things for staff. In light of that, like potential recommendation is just when we had a chance to, this one had a little more, I think, information than the first time we discussed it. So when I was just reading through it and doing a little bit of research when I couldn't sleep the other night. So the one thing I'm wondering is the recommendation from, was it the natural resource folks or whoever had that one recommendation page. It mentioned, of course, the water fixtures. I believe I mentioned that before. I don't see it written in the comments, which of course, like it's easy to miss. think the city should lead by example, not that we have maybe future projects in development. We've probably done quite a few at this point, but if we are building new libraries, new city buildings, new et cetera, it'd be nice for the government buildings to have those low flow water features that are not, wasting extra, just to set that example. I think, Scott, is it correct to say that trying to implement anything for, development of housing, I think last time you mentioned that's a real challenge. Is that accurate? That's because you have to sit there and monitor whether it's happening.
It is, yep. So if we do any hard landscaping requirements, we'll capture those at the building permit process. But after the initial building permit goes in and is approved, it will be very difficult for our limited code enforcement staff to maintain and monitor that.
Makes
And
complete
that's the same with the secondary water systems, that to participate in a
sense.
Rip Your Strip program or other of those other incentive programs, it typically puts the city in the monitoring and not maintenance arm, but the enforcement arm of secondary water usage. And right now we don't have staff or budget identified to do that.
And so I think, yeah, that's why maybe a recommendation, just in terms of staff working on this, if you guys think it works for you, is just the city leading by example with city-owned properties or government, owned development, that we essentially look at making sure we're just being water conscious with those, with toilets, sinks, etc. And then another thing is just when I'm reading through what we already have in the general plan, and I agree with you, it was awesome to see we had so much of what they were asking for. There are a few things in there that just from an administrator point of view seem like they would be very difficult for the city to either do or enforce or have happen. So maybe while we're also adding additions to this general plan, we consider striking a few things. Examples were, for example, it talked about the Slow the Flow program, which we've kind of discussed some of the limitations there. And then also like having a neighborhood competition was mentioned, and having neighborhoods try to compete against each other. There were several in that section that just seem like if we're not actually doing these because we don't have staffing, etc., it might be more powerful to remove them. Less is more kind of mentality, like pick some things we can actually do and then stick to that. So that would just be a thought for staff as you guys are working through this, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's very helpful. And thank you, Commissioner Green. For just a small response to some of those comments, if you begin driving around the city and seeing some of the city parks, we've just done this at Barker Park, where we took out the park strip and we eliminated that and replaced it with xeriscaping. We're going to be doing additional xeriscaping work at Bicentennial Park too, off of Washington Boulevard and Pleasant View Drive. So the city is in some respects, I think, trying to do that lead by example and eliminate turf grass in areas that are really difficult to water and maintain. And we'll continue to do those projects as we have capital facilities dollars to improve them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Oh, and that was my last other thought, or point here, was just when I was reading over this, the park strips, there was a potential of recommending, like we try to not use grass on park strips. My question is there a potential just to consider that being a thing we don't do, like having it, and I mean, I know that might be too much for folks, but putting it in that you can't have grass in a park strip. That's maybe too bold. I don't know.
And we could see how the public responds to that. There's a line between allowing it, or saying this isn't recommended and then just disallowing it altogether, is who becomes the park strip police. One nice thing is that the state code has changed to say cities cannot require turf grass in areas less than 8 feet wide. So that would include park strips. And then the park strip reduction or the park strip elimination by the state code, interestingly enough, to me, it goes over the contracts that homeowners associations have with homeowners. So HOAs that previously did not permit low water land or water use landscaping, low water use landscaping, or xeriscaping in park strips, that's been overridden by state code.
Perfect.
But to say that they can't altogether gets really tricky in cities that, well, in every city,
Makes
honestly.
sense.
It's not just a observation just from somebody that hasn't been part of the discussion. So at the university, we went through a pretty extensive program. And it was interesting, one of the significant areas that we had problems with was we have an extensive tunnel system at the university, and we were leaking, their pipes were leaking. So as that gets applied to the city with the meters for the water, is there, and I'm sure that we age those out and replace them as we need to, is there some observation or monitoring where there could well be water leakage in the system. We're doing that as well.
Yeah, so, oh, go ahead, John.
So the state requires us to monitor how much water we put into our pipes and how much goes out. And we're only allowed a certain amount of leakage. And then on our houses, every single person has a radio on their meter now, and we catch it daily. And so when we see high usage, they'll call the individual and say, "Hey, check your house." For me, a couple of years ago, I was in Colorado and got a call from water, and they said, "Hey, you're using a lot of water at your house. What's going on?" And the person who was watching my dogs had when they hit the flapper or hit the toilet lever, the flapper stayed up, and so it was just running, and
So it's all automated then?
they'll get some alarm saying, "Hey, there's a high water usage," and then they'll call the individual and say, "Check your stuff."
Yeah.
This is culinary only.
Culinary, yeah.
And that's really, well, that's.
Yeah, that's amazing.
control,
Yeah, that's great.
So that complements there because we were losing water in our own system.
Yeah.
That it was kind of shocking,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, compliments there on that.
And our city staff, it's anecdotal, but we've had staff members in the culinary water and kind of like inspection who have actually gone in and fixed toilet flappers for residents. You know, they've said, "I bet you that's a toilet running or a this running." And so city staff have been willing to jump in and help with those things as well, which is one of those hidden other duties as assigned type
Yeah.
of things.
Well, we should
Love
capture
them,
that,
yeah.
whatever we got to report on that we're doing that.
Yeah.
But I guess by law we have to, sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, that's interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't believe we need any sort of motion for this item. We'll just recommend it be, discussed at a future.
We will want to have a motion that would be continue this item at
Okay,
a future meeting.
great. If I could get that motion.
I will make a motion to continue this agenda item for future meetings.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner. I'm not sure he's here, actually. Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
And I'm yes for that. So that passes unanimously. So let's move on to the next item and open a public hearing. The consideration and recommendation on a legislative application to add a chapter titled Active Transportation and Wayfinding System Plan to the North Ogden City Code. This plan focuses on the entire city to enhance pedestrian, bike, and active transportation facilities. The presenter tonight is Scott Hess, the Community and Economic Development Director.
Thank you. So this item came forward before the Planning Commission on October 2nd, 2024, and received a positive recommendation to City Council to move it forward to adoption. And shortly after that meeting, I had a real bad bicycle accident, and that kind of ate up a bunch of my time. And there's items like this that sat kind of in waiting, and now we're bringing this back around. And I think staff's approach to it is to bring forward to City Council a suite of general plan amendments, all as one package. And then it's easier for them to spend the time and look at them as one rather than come forward with separate items at different times. So I don't have a lengthy presentation on this. We've gone through it. The public has had an opportunity to make comments. On page 11 of 31 of the PDF, there's the map plan for the active transportation plan. I've talked about this a little bit in various areas and places. I've done several presentations on this plan actually. And one of the real powerful things is that it comes with a priority projects list that has cost elements to it. And they're realistic costs that our city engineer have reviewed. So not only do we just have a map with a bunch of future lines on it, we have an assessment or understanding of what the cost of that would be, which is really helpful for us as we move forward with capital facility dollars. It includes both bicycle network as well as sidewalk networks for priority sidewalk gaps, and pedestrian use and safe routes to school is integrated. So we're really excited about this plan. It's complete, it's ready for adoption. We just need, I think, a follow-up recommendation and wanted to give the public another opportunity to make comments if wanted, because it has been, 9, 10 months since it was last in front of the planning commission.
Do the commissioners have any comments or questions on this?
Being the finance guy, so I was impressed that you had your priority list. Is this, is this planning like a 10-year? I mean, will it take us 10 years to get through this, or what are we thinking?
Or more. I mean, general plans are typically 10 to 15 years, kind of the horizon that you look at.
Okay.
And so our current written general plan from 2015 is getting quite old. You notice that
Yeah.
some of the text is outdated. So it's time to update that. We should probably look at plans like this about every 5 years and reassess. The other thing is that we have B and C road funds and sidewalk funds that are allocated each year. And so kind of aligning this active transportation plan with our sidewalk capital facilities plan would be helpful for building it. Because otherwise we really don't have a line item in the capital facilities projects that is specific to bike lane infrastructure or, pedestrian improvements when they aren't related to a larger road project. So kind of not correcting, but adding those processes in that allow us to review each roadway against the active transportation plan is real helpful.
So in terms of the budgeting at the city level,
Mhm.
they would surely, I expect, allocate a certain dollar amount each year to tackle the list, I would imagine. That would,
Yes and no. And I'll say that because I don't know that any one of these individual projects, except for maybe like the Monroe pedestrian trail or the Mountain Road pedestrian trail, like those may get a specific line item capital facilities project CIP dollars that just says we're going to put $1 million into this particular project. But the power of a plan like this is that when 2600 North is widened or improved, or 3100 is widened or improved, it takes, it allows the city engineer, the public works director to lean on the active transportation plan and say, in the width of this asphalt, what should we include? Should it have bicycle infrastructure? Should the sidewalks be widened? What should it look like in the future? And when that planning has been done before the money is allocated, it's far easier to include
okay.
those
so
facilities.
Two strategy.
Yeah.
Is that the primary strategy?
Mhm.
Is a larger project, you just build this in according to the priority of that?
You do. And so you pick up little pieces of the network slowly over time. And then after 5 or 10 years, you
Okay.
realize you've created a whole network.
Well, I'll go so far to say, would we want to consider having the city council look at allocating some amount of money out of the budget?
I mean-
Is that next step, is that going too far with this legislative process of ours?
I think that it's a good recommendation to say, if this is important, then this council needs to start talking about how they're going to fund it. And they have been doing some things. And so it's good to encourage and, something the budget committee can talk about and everybody.
Okay, well,
That's a good thought.
okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners before we hear from the public?
I am okay with it. This is Lauren.
Great, Lauren, good to hear from you.
Yeah, I had some problems with my microphone here, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and ask to hear from any public comment that might be forthcoming. Anybody online? Okay, well, if we don't have any comments,
We need to officially close it. then.
yes, I need a motion to close.
So I motion that we close the public comment period.
Public
I'll
hearing.
s-
Yep.
Hearing,
Public
public
hearing.
hearing.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been a long
So we have a motion from Commissioner Green and a second from Commissioner Gardner to close the public hearing. Do we need all in favor or?
Yeah, you'll need if you want to forward the same recommendation as you did in October, we'll need a motion to recommend approval to the city council with a second and then a vote. If that's.
I
the
just
one
need to
you want.
close the public hearing. Can
So
I
it's
just do voice?
it's a roll call.
No,
Yeah,
sorry.
it is a roll call. Okay, so Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes,
Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes,
Okay, so that's just to close the public hearing. So now, because we have looked at this, this is a discussion period before a motion on this item. In terms of a recommendation or a re-recommendation. We have discussed this in the past at length, and previously we had made a positive recommendation to the city council to adopt this item, this plan into the general plan.
So in light of that, I would float a recommendation that essentially we recommend that we add a chapter titled Active Transportation and Wayfinding System Plan to the North Ogden City Code as presented, with the addition that we encourage city council to allocate and find funding sources to begin work on this plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, so a motion is from Commissioner Green and a second from Commissioner Webb. Let's go ahead and take a vote on that. Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner.
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that is unanimous. So let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is I'd like to open a public hearing for consideration and recommendation on a legislative application to add a chapter titled North Ogden Southtown Commercial Area Plan to North Ogden City Code. This plan focuses on the area of Washington Boulevard from 1900 North to 2050 North. And the presenter tonight is Scott Hess, the Community and Economic Development Director.
Thank you. So this is the same thing. These items came together on October 2nd, 2024. It has received a recommendation to City Council to move forward and be adopted into the general plan. Originally, this plan came from a grant through Wasatch Front Regional Council that was for $100,000 to bring the consultants forward. The city participated in a match. We received significant public comments on this. The general area is on the northwest would be the cannery, and then east across to Kurt's Drive-In and the old Kent's and Macy's Plaza area, or I can't think of the original name, but the old Macy's Plaza area. And then south down to 1900 North, go across the street again, and then everything that's commercial on the west side of Washington Boulevard. It's a consideration of what the projects or the area could look like in the future, but it doesn't come with any obligation of any individual property owner to make changes. So this is really a chance to think about what could be. We looked at daylighting Coldwater Creek through the area, changes and reconfigurations of the parking. And as you go through the Southtown plan that was created, one of the things I really liked and valued out of it is that it had a phased approach. So it's what does it look like today? What could it look like with minor improvements? And then step through additional improvements as private property owners want to sell and upgrade their land. So staff has a strong recommendation to approve this plan and get it into our general plan with the hope that it will aid future developers and future property owners in redeveloping that site.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions before we hear from the public?
I do. One of the things I've thought about, and obviously the plan didn't include the scope, but was there ever discussion about going further from 1900, going to, both sides of the street to 1700? There's commercial obviously on the west side. It's still residential on the east side, but it, looks like there's possibility for commercial development. And I just had a question about that. I think it's something that I really didn't consider until thinking about this plan, driving back and forth. I think it's a wonderful plan, but I was just curious about that kind of extended area and what the thoughts were.
Yeah, staff and the consultant during this process didn't include anything from 1900 to 1700, but you're right that there is the old agricultural property that will likely turn over to some form of either mixed use or commercial. And then you have some old apartments on the corner of 1700 North and Washington Boulevard that may at some point have land value high enough to have them turn over. So it'll be interesting what happens there. I think that having future planning, maybe using this plan to inform what that would look like would be really helpful. That's a great comment and suggestion. Thank you.
I just have a clarification in terms of language. I just realized our items, are saying to add it to the North Ogden City Code. When we think about this, we think adding it to the general plan. And does that matter at all in terms
Yeah.
of these, or?
It kind of does and kind of doesn't. So they're all adopted by an ordinance, and sometimes the ordinance is considered the code of the city, but it's not the official municipal code.
Yeah, okay. So I was just thinking on that last motion, I was like, wait a minute.
Maybe we should just add it to the
The
general plan.
plan.
Okay.
So I'm new, so I haven't seen this. I
Mhm.
was looking at the last couple of days thinking, what meeting did I miss this at?
It's been a while.
So the project area is defined very clearly.
Mm.
So the study focused on there and then gave some ideas of that area. So
Yep.
would the involvement of the city be involved in acquiring this property in some way to make that vision come true? Or is it just, it'll just be as each building comes available, or does the ordinance dictate that this is what's gonna happen? I mean, yeah. I mean,
All of those things, yes, it could be any and all of those things. So the city is a landowner. We have city property that we have owned and then declare surplus, and sometimes that turns over to developers' hands, who then receive it at maybe a reduced cost or a reasonable cost, so that the city can contract with them and say, we'll sell it to you, but this is the ultimate outcome on the other side. So that's one. And then the other is just, it really informs future development is what it does.
So a developer could come in and see this has been designated,
Mhm.
and if a number of properties became available, they could invest in that and start developing that consistent with this plan.
And they may want to be a part of this, as a
Yeah,
business or something,
Yeah.
they may want to, it might be enticing to, have this bigger vision of this
Yeah.
area,
Yeah.
which is,
I think it's.
kind of an older area, but it
Yeah.
is an area ripe for development in our city right now.
Yeah, so, because I've lived here 30+ years, I've always thought this would be a prime area if there was an overall plan
Yeah.
to attack it.
Right.
That's what it feels like. we're
And
doing here.
I think if I'm Scott, and if I'm understanding this correctly, it's not like prescriptive though, in the sense that if someone chooses to develop in this area, it doesn't mean we're going to get exactly what's in this, but it would make it more likely we get closer to this vision, because it gives us a little bit of power to say, you want to build this commercial space, great. Well, we wanted this like festival street, for example. Like, how could that be integrated? But is that accurate? Like,
Yeah.
it's-
Okay.
Exactly. And plans like this, one of the example projects in the plan is Holiday City's 2300 East Boulevard. And that came from a plan like this, where the city said, this is zoning that we would be interested in doing, but we don't have that zoning today. And then a developer came in and realized that by doing the rezone process to that, they were going to be, the project be more profitable, and the city was willing to negotiate that and do that rezone. Same thing here, that we may be willing to be more flexible if the end result of the project is meeting plans that we're interested in the future.
But this is the targeted zone in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
it would be exciting to
Yeah,
see
I would
this.
say
Yes.
ready for me.
Yep.
And to
Okay.
uncover the
Yeah.
creek runs through the middle of it would be
daylighting,
cool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, would make it really, it runs right through the middle of, it's just covered.
Hey,
Thanks, Scott.
Commissioner Gardner has a comment.
Go ahead.
If I recall, the developer for the storage units was going to do some expansion that also included uncovering the Coldwater Creek there. So I believe his plan was consistent with what this plan is going to do. So is that right, John?
Yes, they
Okay.
they were talking about. You can see here, Scott might be able to wiggle on it, but where they were talking about opening that creek up.
And this right now is the parking lot, almost right in the middle between Pizza Pie Cafe and the CrossFit building. kind of right in the center is the area of the creek opening and daylighting. And starting on 109 of 147 of the PDF, this is the step, kind of the step through process. So right now it's saying one of the major things we could do is improve the streetscape along Washington Boulevard, doing some trees and landscaping improvements. And maybe you open that, you daylight the creek to begin with. So you kind of create a sense of place there. And we already do events. We've got the Chalk Art Festival there. You have several active food restaurants and different uses in the area. And then within 5 to 10 years, maybe that southern building might change, alter, and you get the festival street built. And we've got a pretty open area here that has been a parcel that's hard to develop. And I think that if you created a festival street, that would be an area you might shut down at times, like 25th Street, and bring community members out, that might entice developers to redevelop that site. And then this just continues to step up with additional density of buildings, build out of buildings all the way up through 20 years, with this being kind of the final, what could it look like in the future? But it's not prescriptive to say it will be exactly these size of buildings and this parking layout and these setbacks, but it's just it's an idea of what could happen, a
Are
concept.
these buildings in what era? Are they 19?
The old Macy's building is probably like 60s. And then there's an old the King's Plaza, I'm guessing is like late 60s, early 70s. Pizza Pie Cafe's been, not Pizza Pie Cafe, sorry, Kurt's Drive-In has been there since the 50s, early 60s. I mean, it's been there for a long time.
It's getting ripe for.
Well, we want to keep the you want to keep the drive-in. That's an iconic.
Drive-in.
And then
Yeah.
the Cannery Building is an iconic building. And we've lost a lot of those old historic buildings that were in North Ogden. So using those as kind of prototypes of placemaking buildings, so people come down and you use that to, maybe it's red brick and brownstone type stuff that goes along with the cannery, and redevelops.
Your thumbs up on this.
I think, yeah,
can tell.
I think it'd be neat to see.
I agree.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions from the public in attendance? Okay, well, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I will make that motion.
Well, second.
Okay, so you got a motion from Commissioner Neighbor and a second from Commissioner Green. And let's go ahead and take a vote. Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that is to close the public hearing. So to open this back up for discussion before any motion for recommendation, we have previously, like the last item, we have previously discussed this at length and recommended it at one time to be adopted into the general plan. And so any motion would probably be to re-recommend adopt to the city council for that we adopt this into the general plan.
I'll take a
Anybody?
crack at it.
You go for it.
Chances.
So I will make a motion to resubmit to the city council a chapter
We recommend.
we recommend to submit to the city council, correct?
Yes.
A chapter titled North Ogden Southtown Commercial Area Plan. Am I done?
Yeah, that it be adopted into the general plan.
Yep, that would be adopted into the general plan. Thank you.
Right.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Neighbor and a second from Commissioner Gardner. And so let's go ahead and take a vote. Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that one is also unanimous, that recommendation. Okay, so I guess that completes pretty much our legislative items tonight. Are there any other comments from the public for any items on the agenda or not on the agenda? All right, any remarks from planning commissioners? All right, any report from the Community and Economic Development Director?
We have a new drive-in building that's going vertical over on 2600 North. So watch for some signage to start going up. City received a site plan or the sign plan, but that's not public information yet on who we're getting. So continue to watch for those buildings to go vertical and we'll see some new restaurants here.
But
Okay,
you're
great.
referring to the development that's the one that we approve across from Lee's, correct?
Yep, yeah, a Barker Depot.
Yeah, okay. Parker Depot, yep.
Correct.
Exciting.
Okay, any remarks from the city manager or city attorney?
Just as you know, a shout out to the fire department and the state folks and all the communities who sent their fire departments. We didn't lose a residential structure. Only damage sustained was to some city water equipment up at our Rice Creek tanks. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
yeah.
Is
And
it out now?
so this morning they said it was 75% contained. And what that means is the fire's at this point, the fire's out, but there's still a risk that if something flared up again, it could move up through that 25% of the 360 circle. That 25% is at the eastern edge up on the cliffs where it's really hard to get to. So my understanding is they're fairly comfortable where they're at and they'll continue to monitor, but there won't be a heavy firefighter presence in the area.
So how are they putting that out?
Well, so it's out. They haven't checked every twig and every speck. And so if they missed one, then there's 25% of the
Okay.
circumference that is susceptible to transfer that fire to the next.
So you just watch and observe?
Yeah, they just make sure they don't see a flare up. But essentially, 99% sure it's not going to move, meaning it's out, no more fire unless somebody starts another one. So,
Unbelievable response.
yeah,
That was a scary day where I live
Scary.
at.
Me too.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
you too then, huh?
Yeah, I evacuated for sure.
Oh, you did?
Mhm. Okay, I think that's it for tonight. If I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Commissioner Neighbor and a second from Commissioner Green.